The world is in dire peril. You know the type. The end of everything. And who's going to stop it? You, of course. You great big stick figure hero, you. Wait, hold on. Stick figure? Yep, that's right. Welcome to developer Over the Moon's The Last Hero of Nostalgaia, a lovingly crafted satire of video game and pop culture tropes, coupled with a Souls-like playstyle. The titular Nostalgaia is a video game land regressing from the wonderful world of polygons back on down to 2D 8-bit oblivion, a world whose only hero that can set it right is a stick figure. And did I mention the narrator hates you? Yep, it's going to be a long day. You see, the land of Nostalgaia is losing its memory, and with it, its definition. A once thriving, hero-filled world of polygons and high-res textures is now degrading. Polygon counts have been lowered, textures are going low-res, and 2D sprites are replacing everything. The heroes, those who still retain some semblance of what they once were, are a nightmarish conglomeration of bugs and glitches trying to save what remains. Clearly, they're not doing a good enough job, otherwise there'd be no need for you. From the outset, The Last Hero of Nostalgaia has one of the best character creators I've used in a video game. There are a wealth of options for you to play around with, and yet all you can create is a stick figure. It's an opening that sets the tone to what The Last Hero is going for the entire game. This sense of snark, of lovingly spoofing, and satirical humour is what makes The Last Hero stand out from so many other somber, Souls-like games crowding the market. Your hero's journey to restore the memory to the world, and to let other heroes play out the stories that they were created for, is full of memorable moments. Not least of which is the upset narrator who doesn't think much of you, and who regularly interferes with your quest. Whether it was the moments he would interrupt with, "Behold, an ambush," and have monsters jump out to you from behind pillars, or my favourite, spawning a train as you're trying to cross a bridge to run you over with. All these moments kept a smile on my face through most of the playthrough. Naturally, the game is chock full of gaming and pop culture Easter eggs. Some are easier to spot than others, such as a level based around a certain rich duck's money bin, while others require a keener eye. They're all worth looking for, as coupled with the situational humour, they provide many of the game's highlights. This humorous approach also applies to the level design, as you'll find back rooms and alleys that are full of staff rooms for the enemies to take a break between video game sessions, chock full of motivational sayings and workout equipment. Beyond the humour, The Last Hero also brings some novel changes to its weapon and armour systems. You can carry everything you pick up at all times, with weight only making a difference once it's equipped. What's great about the armour and weapon system is that everything has its own lore, but the weapons and armour have forgotten them, leaving them in an underpowered state. Each piece of equipment has a hint about its past in the lore tab, and you need to go reclaim their memories to fill this out. When you do, you'll be rewarded with a hefty chunk of lore, an increase in the equipment's stats, and you'll unlock its special abilities. At the same time, its weapon model changes from a low-poly, low-res asset to an intricate, high-res one. You can then further enhance it at a blacksmith, and even unbound them at an NPC, which greatly increases their power, transfers them into a modern model asset, but they do lose their special ability and associated lore. Moving on to the minute-to-minute gameplay, The Last Hero is a Souls-like through and through, which is both good and bad. You've got light attacks, heavy attacks, and a stamina bar, and you can dodge, roll, or block attacks. Enemies drop memory when defeated, and, of course, you use this to level up your character and your weapons. You can rest and level up at tethers that respawn enemies when used. So far, pretty much par for the course. The good news, depending on your preferences, is that The Last Hero is considerably easier and more accessible than most Souls-likes. Don't think I mean there's a lack of challenge, as you will die. Rather, it's really frustrating enough that you'll be inclined to throw your controller at a wall. The level design also follows that satisfying Souls-like template, with paths looping back on themselves to link areas together and create new shortcuts. On the downside, the game does use some cheap techniques, especially with regard to enemy placement and unblockable attacks, to increase the difficulty. Another thing you'll have to get used to is the general slower pace of combat and slower animations, resulting in far too many openings in some of your defensive moves. Now, visually, The Last Hero of Nostalgaia might not impress unless you like the low-resolution textures and combination of sprites mixed in with proper 3D models. The visual aesthetic that the developers are going for is, in my opinion, wonderful, with some nice modern effects and lighting, especially when you use a tether for the first time and watch the surrounding area change from its degraded state into a higher fidelity one. Unfortunately, where the game does suffer is in its technical performance. The game is riddled with slowdown and has a camera that is terrible in tight environments. The biggest problem, and one that actually affects the playing of it, is that each time you get hit, the game seems to freeze up for a moment, which completely throws off any combat rhythm and, more often than not, leaves you vulnerable to follow-up attacks. Initially I thought this might just have been part of the game's humour, as one item stops you from getting staggered when hit. However, even after using it, each blow I receive froze the game for the briefest moment. It's bad enough during normal encounters, but completely infuriating during boss fights. Despite the current performance issues, The Last Hero of Nostalgaia is a worthy Souls-like for you to sink your time into, especially if the developers can get a patch out quickly. With a humorous and fun story, mostly solid combat, and a mercifully easier difficulty setting, it's an indie release that deserves your attention. If you've got this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing, as it helps our channel grow.